agree with this. but we could see that we could appreciate your age and what you are doing at this time when we didn't see the glasses. But now we can see a younger version of you.
yeah. That's my decolonized version.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Good afternoon, Dr. Bakri.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you. My name is Dr. A.S. Bakri, reader in the Institute for Advanced Medical Research and Training. I'm to read the citation of Professor Oyewale Tomori. Professor Oyewale Tomori obtained Doctor of Veterinary Medicine and PhD from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria. He is a past president of the Nigerian Academy of Science with experience in virology, disease prevention, and control. He was a researcher at the University of Ibadan from 1971 to 1994, within which he was head of the Department of Virology at the College of Medicine. He later served as the pioneer vice chancellor of the Relevance University in Nigeria from 2004 to 2011. Then from 1994 to 2004, he was the virologist for the WHO-AFRO, establishing the African Region Polio Laboratory Network. In 1981, he was recognized by the US CDC for contributions to Lassa fever research. In 2002, he received the Nigerian National Order of Merit, the country's highest award for academic and intellectual attainment and national development. Dr. Tomori has served or continues to serve on numerous advisory committees at national and global levels, including national, that is Lassa Fever Steering Committee, Laboratory Technical Working Group, Expert Group on Polio Eradication, and Routine Immunization Advisory Committee on COVID-19 Response, and at the international level, WHO, SAG, WHO-AFRO Polio Certification Committee, WHO Yellow Fever Disease Committee, WHO Tag on COVID-19 Vaccine Composition, that is TAG/CO/VAC, Gavi Board, US NAS Global Health Risk Framework Commission, and as a committee member of the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, future state of smallpox medical countermeasures. He served as an advisor to the Regional Director of the WHO-AFRO on laboratory planning and quality during the 2020-2023 COVID-19 pandemic. He is a member of U.S. National Academy of Medicine and a fellow of the International Science Council. Currently, he also serves as the president of West African Network of National Academies of Science. He has authored or co-authored over 180 academic publications. Please, Professor Tomori, you are welcome as our guest lecturer for the month. Please join me in welcoming him as he presents his work. Over to you, sir, Prof.
Thank you very much. Trying to see if I can share my slides. Can you see them? Can you see my slides now?
Not yet, sir.
Uh-oh. You can see it yet? Let me
No.
go back to sharing. Just give me a second. Let me go back. I'll move that out and then get back. Share. You should be seeing it any moment from now. Oops.
Yes. We're still seeing not the slides, but the...
Yes.
Okay.
Something is coming up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Something is coming on. Need to be on slideshow now.
Okay. Just give it a little time. can see it now.
We can see now, but still not slideshow.
Is it on slideshow now?
Yeah,
It should be.
It appears so. So maybe pick the first slide. Pick the first slide. Okay. Yeah.
You see, that's the first slide.
Yeah, we can see it.
This is the second one.
The flyer is to the side. But we can see it, sir. We can see it now.
You don't have one just outline of presentation?
Yes, we can see outline of presentation now. So we can start, sir. We can go, please go and start. Yes. We can see your slides.
You see the outline of presentation. Okay. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to make one small correction. I'm not a guest lecturer. I've always been of IAMRAT, and now I'm always be of IAMRAT, never. So I'm not a guest. I'm part of you, one of you, will always be one of you. So don't call me guest lecturer. That's number one. Number two, I want to also thank you, Ike, and your team for continuing building greater things on the little foundation that was laid by other directors. It's a pleasure just to see the great things that are going on at IAMRAT now. Thank you all, and thank you for the great things you're doing. I'm going to be quickly looking at the title. I'm looking to give you some introduction. What are the role of research institutions? How do we build capacity of the young researchers for societal relevance? I'm stressing that, for societal relevance. And then what do we decolonize our research? Because that's the only way we can actually be relevant to society until we are decolonized. Now, quickly go into some conclusion. So what the message sent to me was to define the role of research institute in understanding and possibly transforming the nation, what is decolonizing of science and research to the benefit of the society, including the scientists themselves. And then how do research institutes work with government and private sector to ensure that we get the best, that they build capacity, that the capacity we are building not really contribute to the development of the country, but that we retain them and they're not japaning, which is the major things. So I want to say that research institutes actually mold the young researchers. And these young researchers will eventually make that institute, because they become they take the research institution as block makers. And the blocks, these are the grants that are the ones that build the institute. And the type of blocks that you mold will determine the status of your institute, the quality, the integrity, and what's the contribution to science and society. And research institutions will actually play a very crucial role, in building the capacity of young researchers for them to be relevant. I always want to send that message about being relevant to your society. So the research institute will provide the necessary infrastructure to train and mentor these young people. So with the skills and the knowledge they have got, that will be in such a way that it's tailored towards for them to conduct impactful research and address some of the challenges that the research they're doing, actually addressing the societal challenges. So let's look at some of the activities. First of all, you need structure and resources. There must be research facilities. You must have good laboratories, extensive libraries, and other infrastructures which the young researchers will use. Many of us are where we are today because there were research institutes that we worked in. When I started working in the Department of Virology, it wasn't even a department then, it was just one of these funded things to carry out. But I keep saying it to a lot of people that we had actually everything we needed to carry out our research, even though everything was imported from the USA, including the feed that the mice were eating. They were eating imported food. But then, that was their money. They could use that they wanted. These are part of the issue of decolonization I'm going to be talking about. There were funding opportunities. We had more than enough funding. And this research institute should have not only be out there raising funds for more people for research projects. It is a research project that would draw the young researchers to become participants. And they gain experience through these projects. we then contribute, into the field where they are. There are different areas of which you are, epidemiology, virology, cancer research, or whatever. So you must get research grants that go in those different areas. And taking these young people to be part of your research team, where they learn and gain experience. And then the research system must actually be equipped with such technology and tools like software, the right equipment, and the basic technology, internet facilities, connectivity, and all those kind of things are what the research institute must have. Otherwise, you become like this thing. What about the kind of training? What kind of academic programs you have? Research institute must not, I know it's an institute of advanced research, but it must be open and catch them young. Get them at the undergraduate level, get them at the graduate level. I remember one of the things we used to do in the Department of Virology in those days when universities used to have like 3 months of holidays between June and September. We always took in 3 or 4 different young people from different areas, microbiology, zoology, to join us and work with us for at least 3 months. It was through there that we were able to get people who were interested in virology. So of course, some never showed up, but at least we gained some people. So your academic program must include getting undergraduates. As a research institute, you must be able to attract young people. That's the time you can catch their interest, and then not just wait to be a postgraduate institute only. Your research training, you must, IAMRAT used to have a lot of research training in research methodologies, data analysis, and other relevant skills. I remember so many conferences that IAMRAT and others will hold. We track people, not just young, especially young ones who are coming in different departments, coming to learn new things and new things. Another important thing is mentorship. The career people at the institute, the great mentors, researchers who are currently at IAMRAT, will be able to mentor all these ones. They are bringing these young people, and they are watching you. They're seeing what you are doing, how you doing your research, what's the methodology. You are teaching them dedication, you are teaching them commitment, you are teaching them, honesty and integrity. And so the mentors are very, very important, because when you have these people, they follow up, you become like a beacon of light for them, which will light them throughout their stage of them. And then we never must forget continuing education. And when I was talking about capacity building just now, I mentioned capacity retention. Sometimes in Nigeria, we spend so much time and so much money on capacity building. And then next year, the capacity we have built has disappeared because we don't have the enabling environment for them to stay. So you as an institute, IAMRAT as an institute, must be a continuing education place for them. To come back to the old mentors, to come back to them, learn new things, be aware of what is going on, linkage. They probably, all of them can't work in the institute, they work in other places. There must be that linkage. You must follow up. What are they doing? Occasionally check out what are they doing, what's their work they're doing, and then how you can advise them, and they will be able to come back. The relationship of the mentorship must be so good that they come back to you without even your asking. So the institutes will foster a culture of innovation and collaboration. There's interdisciplinary research. I'm glad the advanced IAR and IAMRAT. It has interdisciplinary nature. It's not just cancer research or the epidemiology. There are all sorts of different people that are in there, and that's the only way. Research is no longer one-way thing or something. They are all, we are talking of one health type of thing, And then the other thing is that these institutions must create research communities where young researchers can come in, just part where you get the peer review, where they share ideas, where they collaborate on projects. You bring them in from different areas, and not just you alone carrying out research. Young people come in and join in. Go in the field, please. You experience field activities, and come back and bring up that and see things from beginning to the end. When you write a proposal, when they go into the field, when the result is come out, is published, and they're all aware of it. That the other part of it is not just hands-on to do research. This should be important. And then the institute must continue to collaborate with the industry, with the government, and especially the community organization. And that's where you discover, one of the errors we make in many of our universities, we call it ourselves the ivory tower. The Abbey Tower is sitting right there. Look at the old days of Ibadan, many other Nigerian universities. You have the university campus. We've seen people who grow up in the primary school of the university, who went to the secondary school of the university, who went to the university, who started working in the university. And then you tell me those guys know what is going on outside the university. The university must relate to the environment. Agbowo should be one of the study centers. Badina, all those places should be part of the study center of what is going on. And as you are in UCH there, the next village there, the next towns and all the other places, where are places, I know you're doing that, but that's what we know, because if you don't see what they're doing, if you don't know what they're doing, you can't tailor your research to suit what they're doing. So you must focus on getting your research to have social benefits, addressing those social challenges. And the only way to know is to know what is going on in your place. What are the problems that are facing our people? What are the areas? What can I do with my research to set up to make sure that these issues are sorted out? Issues like climate change, the poverty around us, diseases that are going on. What are the epidemics? I just got a call from Sierra Leone a few days ago, where monkeypox is raging like they never had it before. It started with 3 or 4 cases, became a major thing. And what happened? The government didn't have money to keep them in the hospital. They said they didn't have money, so go back home. So they went back home. And it didn't move from 4 cases to 40 cases. Now they're talking about 3,000 cases in Sierra Leone. It is our duty to get involved with all that sort of situation as an institute. And we must then disseminate our research findings, not just something for publication, for promotion to the professor. No. It is something that if you have already talked to the people and what you've done is a social challenge, you have looked at the problem the community has, and you have found a solution to it, the community must know about it because they provided that information. So your research finding, not just the publication in Journal of Nature, your research finding is in publication, well written out, and it's in the daily newspaper, Tribune, for example. Those kind of things. Many of us frown at that. So, no, that's infra-big data. It's not. It's infra-big data. It is a big issue that must take and make sure that the public is aware of what you're doing. And that's where your relevance comes in. If the community doesn't know what you're doing, if you have no effect on their life, who cares about who? And that's why we have a problem. I always make a point. When Kengaso, the guys that carry petrol tanks all over the place, when they're going on strike, when they're threatening to go on strike, my president, whether he's on his sick bed, wherever he is, he will come back and answer them. When ASU says we are going on strike, 1 year later, people are asking, are they still on strike? It's a matter of relevance. If you're not relevant to your people, of course, nobody cares about you. So we must then translate whatever it is into practice. So you found out something as an institute, there's a major problem. You find the solution to it. It doesn't stop there. Government must then come in. First, private industry must come in to translate that finding for practical application so that research has positive impact on our society. So to summarize, research institutes are vital to building the capacity of young researchers and to make them so that they can make meaningful impact in society. They do this by providing the resources, the training, the mentorship that is needed. Then they empower the young ones to conduct impactful research and address social challenges, and that improves life. Now, who are supposed to be the young researchers? You see, the young researchers are the future force because of their nature, their energy, innovative vitality. People are shouting today, Yahoo boys, Yahoo boys. My own generation, I used to go to the library and carry a book of handwritten and all that. Today, even before I talk, they know what we're talking about because the world is changing. The world has changed. So, and they are the young ones. They have the energy. They have the vitality. They are innovative. They have great ideas. So they are the future for all of us. Otherwise, we're going to end up with, and they're the main force of basic research and technology. They are the pillars for realizing scientific and technology. They are the backbone, of our national self-reliance and self-improvement. So young researchers become very, very important. The future of the country starts with them. And you continue to make sure that you continue to look at them with that look. It's not just that they are young people, they are whatever. I mean, look at the words we are using, the future force, the main force, the pillars for realizing, and the backbone of it. Until you look at your young researchers that way, you probably will not treat them the way they should be treated. I've summarized that in a kind of pyramid. You start with the tools, you need the space, you need the equipment, you start the research funding, and everybody who has contributed to make IAMRAT what it is today. The building you have, BOD Foundation, and all those things are part of the contribution. The equipment that you have there, the funding that brought the equipment, what kind of research funding are you getting to do all that one? And then the skills you are providing, you colleagues who are there, the experts who are bringing in the courses you are teaching, the bench work you are taking them through, the skills you are building them in, and then the staff and infrastructures. The more you have to mentor these young people, they get involved in scientific reviews, and there's international faculty. So you're not just IAMRAT, you also have people, and I know many of your weekly, monthly seminars have brought in people from outside Nigeria, and that's the way it should be. And then the structures that we have in the UK, the university itself, as the University College of Medicine and IAMRAT, the laboratories that are there, what finance you are getting, what grants are you getting, and what are people are you attracting. And finally, you go to the last stage, which is actually the environment where you are. Your national health sector, particularly plan, you part of it. The partnership you're having, the societies where you are. And these are the impact. The critical, you have the group of, sorry, just a second, let me just take that off. Oops. Can you see me? Can you see my slides?
We can see your slides.
Oh, okay. I'm the one not seeing my slide. I don't know what's happening.
We are still on the slide on pyramid.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know what happened to it. I just moved something up. Instead of seeing slide, I'm seeing myself. I don't know. That's one of the technologies. These young people will have sorted this out for me. But right now I'm here. Okay, I think I got my step now. I hope I've got everybody. So that's the situation where we are. And that's the pyramid. So you have this increased mentorship pool, you have peer review, you have increased research funding, and then there's this potent influence on the people that you are mentioning. Can you give me a little more second? Let me readjust myself. I'm having some issues. The slide is not moving on my side. Just 1 second. I'm sure I'll get back. I may have to restart again. Sorry about that. Please allow me, just give me 1 second. I'll restart. I think there's a problem. Just 1 second. Can you see me now?
Yes, sir. We can see the slide, the pyramid.
Yeah, okay. It's just that it's not moving on my own side. I don't know what's happening. Just a second. Slight delay. Okay, it's moving now. Have you seen the next slide? Hello?
Yes, sir. We can see the next.
Okay. So the next slide says what the research institutes do to empower our young researchers for their future role in development.
We can see it, sir.
Okay, then. Thank you very much. I made a comment. I said we talk too much about building capacity. We often forget about retaining the capacity. So the institution must not just train out and dish out these people. You must bring them back. You must ensure that they have a job to do somewhere else. And the expansion of the researchers themselves will attract some of these young people. The ones who train are retained. Otherwise, they will go somewhere else. And all your efforts in building capacity will be an annual event of building capacity, of which the capacity is not saying. So the research institutes must look at what do we do, the people we are training, where do they work? They must be interested in what their future. How many can we retain? How many other people need them? And that's why the network of research institute becomes important. Then we are working together. So we need, when we're trying to establish an environment to effectively stimulate young researchers' creativity. I mentioned the word that young people are very creative, they're very innovative, They are very, I mean, they have vitality and they have motivation. They are moved by this, not people like us at our age, we are probably tired of so many things. But the power, the energy, the drive, that's what we need. For those of us now, we can sit down on the chair and say, go there, and they do the legwork. We need to establish a team of research workers and empower them through training so that they can define our problems, set the objectives and priorities, conduct some research themselves, of course, guided by us, build sustainable institutions, not just when the institution is finished, and then identify some of the solutions. Now, I was looking at I went to check the universities. There are well over 66 research institutes in Nigeria, currently established and funded by the federal government. These institutes aim to advance knowledge in different areas. There's so many areas: chemical pathology, chemical technology, veterinary research, water resource, medical research, lake chart, fisheries, and then solar energy. But the question we need to be asking ourselves, so we have these many researchers in the country. What has been the impact on the nation? We are still begging for everything. We are still importing everything. What is wrong? Is there something wrong with my generation? Is there something wrong with the generation of government? Is this something that, are we going to get the young researchers to be like me or better than me? I checked the website of the National Universities Council. It said there are 287 universities in Nigeria. I'm sure many of them have research institutes. Although when you check, they're actually 298, although they say they have 287. Which again, are some of the minor little things you think about. Attention to detail. That's one characteristic of a good research institute. NUC puts out 297 universities. You count the number, there are 298. You may say, it's only one. But that's the difference. And that's the important thing. Now, let me move on. So building capacity is one thing. You strengthen the ability of that individual or the community. It's not just capacity of the individual. You build the capacity of the society, you build capacity of the community so that they can face their challenge, achieve their goals, and adopt changing circumstances. Adapt. We talk of climate change, we talk of different changes. I said, when I was growing up, I mean, making this lecture will have taken me 3 weeks. Today, if you give me 24 hours notice with the AI and all those ones, some people think AI means artificial intelligence, which is true. But for me, it is African intelligence, and we need to put all that into it. So it's not just an external thing. I'm decolonizing myself now. The AI is artificial, but there's nothing artificial about me as an African. So African intelligence involves improving my skills, my knowledge and resources. It is enhance the ability of that individual when you build somebody's capacity to perform better, achieve desired goals, and adapt to adapt to changing situations. Building capacity is a continuous process. It's not just you finish, get your PhD, and no. It is a continuous process because the world is changing. Even you as the director, even me as an old professor, I'm still learning. I go on the internet regularly because what I knew last year, the story I'm hearing last year has changed. So I must be up to date. Otherwise, I become redundant. And I become, that old professor, don't mind him. But that's the thing. So if, for me at that age, what do you expect from the younger people? So this capacity happens at different levels, not just young researchers alone. We talk about the community. We talk about organization. We talk about the government. They need to be, if there's anything that needs building capacity in Nigeria, it's our government. Not the capacity they have for corruption, but to change them away from that kind of situation. We need, I say, capacity retention. I keep saying that one. If you don't retain what you have, you spend all your life building capacity. Now, let's talk about the next stage. Decolonizing your research or decolonizing science. I'm talking about this one. You see, decolonizing research involves everything. Your ethics, your culture, and the society that you belong. You begin to see how that comes in. The first thing I did was to decolonize myself. Decolonize, so I don't wear suits anymore. It's a simple thing. It's a beginning. I'm not taking those of you who are wearing triple star, suits in a hot condition. That's your competition. But I wanted to begin. Let's look at the word colonization and let us look at decolonization. This is the history from 1800 up to today. How many times, how important the word colonization. Look at the top slide. Colonization became a major thing. And if you look at it from 1800, it went on because they were busy colonizing every part of Africa. They were making colonies, they were moving from labor. Gradually, by 1884, there was no more land to colonize. So they went to 1884, sorted it out, divided the rest, the colony. Okay, you Britain, you take that one, you whatever, Portuguese take the other one. But then notice that the issue of colonization has not stopped. Look at that graph at the top. Because there's colonization has never stopped. Not as serious as in the past, but in a different form. And unless we appreciate that colonization is still continuing, we will sit down lazily expecting that this is. Now look at the bottom, about decolonization. Who will ever talk about decolonization in the 1800s? Because they were busy. I mean, they were busy dealing with us and nothing. But it was when independence, look at 1960s, when the 50s, when agitation for independence came up, that decolonization began to occur. But have you noticed that, even since that time, though the issue of decolonization, the graph has never even met. They are still spending more time talking about how to colonize us in different forms, than we ourselves are talking about decolonization. And that's why I thank the director for bringing this on. So what is colonization? It is the precursor of colonialism. It's an act of established permanent system in a new place or amongst a group of people. Initially, it is a settlement and it's there to control the part of the colonial system. It involves the physical movement of people and resources to a new land. And then colonialism invades everything around you, your physical, your spiritual, your land, your resources, your language, your culture, and even your relationship. That's what colonialism does. It's all-pervading. It affects every situation of your life. Colonialism itself is the enduring legacy of colonization. It is continuous. It impacts political, economical, cultural, and because that's what the colonizer imposes on us. Our religion, the Christian religion, all those kind of things, everything is changing. Even the things we believe, even the standards we have, that are changed because you don't do it like that. I remember when I was in primary school, the song my teacher used to teach us Ometalo mu lewewumi nibikaduro bi alakowe nibikawa bata to bawa lesemu katurelu yibo aweo. So that was my education. Was three things was important in education. That I can stand like somebody who is dressed like a white man, that I can walk with shoes that make noise, and then go overseas. That was what colonialism was doing to me and to you and to my generation. Post-independence, even after that, it still continues. I was seeing somebody about Rhodes Scholar. We bring it up, announced it. 5 Nigerians have won the Rhodes Scholarship. Who was Rhodes? Rhodes was a vagabond, a colonialist, who messed up Zimbabwe, who messed up Rhodesia. I mean, Northern Rhodesia, Southern Rhodesia. But today we're celebrating, and we are still refusing, we are running after this and going to get Rhodes Scholarship. Colonization may end, but not colonialism. It's a complex, multifaceted relationship between the colonization and the colonizer. Each one has its own different historical and political dynamics. But the victims are downgraded. Even the victims, we downgrade our country. We have many of them today now who are telling us Nigeria is shit. These are people who grew up in Nigeria. I'm sorry when they're, but they're somewhere out there, they can't talk. I mean, there's nothing. Forever and ever, they are totally, mentally, completely colonized. And they never see anything good. But this same content, I was telling my people that there was no hospital in my village. There was no this thing, but it wasn't I didn't get sick when I was young. I was sick. But then they used traditional medicine to take care of me. So now I turned around and said, oh, no, there's nothing good in traditional medicine if I don't go and get pills for this thing. How did I survive? If there was no traditional medicine, will I be talking to you today? So then we bring all those things. So there are phases of colonization. There's first the discovery and recovery. They look at areas. They make pages so-called discover, they call it, but that's not discovery. They came and find a place up. Then there's a period. Sorry, I'm talking about decolonization now. Because this is something that has really eaten into us. So we need to first of all discover that we are being colonized. And that's the first step. Many of us don't even know we are colonized. Many of us think this is the normal way of life. Many of us believe that there was nothing before colonialism came. So you need to discover, was there something before these people came? And then we need to recover from that knowledge. It's a period in which, because it's a period of money in which you acknowledge the grief that they have cost you. But don't stay too long on the money. Begin to dream about what can you imagine a future that is free from the legacy of colonialism, and then that the dreams you have, make it possible. And then the commitment to that one, taking concrete steps to dismantle colonial structures and the system of oppression. Action. It is a continuous thing. Said they have not stopped talking. They are still colonizing us in one form or the other. We must continue. It's not a one-stop thing. There's no holiday from decolonization. Action must be towards, and it affects everything. Decolonization of our social, of our political, of our economy, of our justice, and everything about equality for all. I put the two together, phases of colonization and decolonization. On the side here, they start with exploration, try and find out how to get a place. Then they expropriate, and then they appropriate, and then they exploit, and they justify what they are doing. But for us, we have to take that setting. We must discover that there's injustice. Then I said the money period, then there's a dreaming period, there is commitment to what we have said to do, and there's action aside. There are different types of colonialism. There is settler colonialism who come in and never want to go. You remember the Americans got to America, the British got to America, killed most of the Indians, and then they took the place. You can find out there's very few Indians in this city. They did the same thing. Australia did the same in New Zealand. In Zimbabwe, they almost did it until there was a fight. Otherwise, the Boers would still be in South Africa, and John Smith would still be ruling in Zimbabwe. By its own nature, extraction is exploitation. It extracts your resources, your labor, and everything for the benefit of the colonial power, not for your benefit. And there's sometimes we call surrogate colonialism. That's what we're going through now. There are proxy actors who are staying in your local country, who are indirectly, they are puppet governments, and they provide economic and aid. They are giving support in your election and everything so that they can be controlled and be of use to them and not to your people. So they use other international organizations, IMF, World Bank. I will talk about that word later. And then there is also internal colonialism, in which a dominant country within a country exploits the other regions. We have it here. We have it in the US. We have it in different parts of Africa, where a group would completely dominate the others. Colonialism, what comes through out of them is that one group dominates another with significant consequences for the dominated group. So colonization is a control of the group over by another. It can be political, it can be economic, it can be social, it can be educational, scientific. It is all. So don't think it's only in your science. It affects very area. The motivation for colonialism is economic gain, resource exploitation, and cultural influence. It affects our culture also. Colonialism is eating your cake, and they are still having it. Look at some of the faces of colonialism. I'm sure you don't want to see these pictures, but those are the things in the past. What they did, they took ivory, they cut the finger off those who were listening. We put them in a hammock. They went out and look at what's his name, Mongo Park, who said he came to discover Victoria Falls. Who took him there? The people who were living there. They went. They knew the place was there. How can you discover what? So they say you discover my mother is my mother, when my mother has always been my mother. So those are the kind of issues about colonialism. The hallmark colonialism is exploitation, forced assimilation, suppression. It's a physical subjugation, and the most damaging part of it is the mental and emotional subjugation. And recovery from that takes generations. So it's a significant injustice. It's a long-lasting negative impact in many parts of the world. That describes to me what colonialism is. You see that fox, even when you try to escape, he's still pursuing you. The bear there is the colonized person. He's trying to get away, but the colonial master is following him. See, I was mentioning something about Rhodes. Rhodes was the epitome of colonialism. It was wicked, it was everything. But today, we celebrate Nigerians who win Rhodes Scholarship. Is it that my government doesn't have money to train these people? Is it that we cannot have the scholarship and then rather wait for Britain to give us scholarship from the Rhodes, same Rhodes, who was evidence of colonialism, cunning, obdurate, licentious, obstinate, nicely nasty, invisible, artful, lustful, irreverence to this. These are the people, and we're collecting it from them without thinking. And I'm showing that one, Cicero's and abuse of history. Somebody were writing about it. And the kind of, you see that as a structure somewhere in Oxford, whatever it is, where they are celebrating him. They try to remove the thing, but of course they will not. That's the way they colonize. And this is what colonization does to us. The colors tell you which country. I think the blues is France, the whatever, I don't know color, is British, the Germans came in, everybody came in and split Africa. It wasn't that we didn't have our own kingdom before. Look at the picture of Africa to your left in 1880. There are kingdoms in different parts of Africa. But then in 1884, they didn't even think about that. They broke us up and divided us into what we call it, into Africa, according to them, whatever it is, according to whatever. See what has happened. 1880, that was what we had our colony. By 1913, they divided us up. Today, 2005, what are we getting? We are still divided by colonial languages which they left with us. So it never leaves. Nigeria across the road, next to us is Benin Republic. They speak Yoruba there. But today, I can't talk to any of them because I'm speaking English, they are speaking French. I mean, whatever. So the four leprous fingers of colonialism. So when we begin to, I'm saying this so that we begin to, we have been sleeping in Africa about colonialism. See the four leprous fingers of colonialism. The invention of a false social concept, what they call race, the dichotomy between the white supremacy and African inferiority, the forcing of Africans to denounce their roots and embrace European modernity. You know, remember this this song I was singing in my primary school. Superior Europe against that continent with no history. They said we had no history. They said we had no culture. That's what they did. They lied. And they have it. Scientists have done it. One of the scientists listed that we were much closer to apes than to chimpanzees than they were. And they said we were between us, we were the one between them and apes. You know, medical colonialism is still going on. It's nothing new. You remember what happened in Pfizer, what they did in Kano way back in those days, 1994. I can't remember what year it was, 96 or so. You know. But let me ask you a question. Who first discovered the first vaccine? Go and check your medical books. It says Edward Jenner, wasn't it? Find out. Before Jenner was born, before Jenner knew anything, we've been practicing vaccination in Africa, but we didn't call it. And these are some of the stories. The African slave who taught America how to vaccinate from smallpox. His name was, they gave him Onesimus, but I don't know what part of Nigeria, what part of Africa he came from. These are things about what they did. They took from us, which we did, but we didn't take them. See them carrying David Livingstone to go and carry, to go to some fort. This was a fort that had names before the European came. The Tokalea, they said Shungunam Timutimu. When you hear that one, you know that's a name than Victoria Falls. You know, these are all those sorts of things that, and I wonder why we're still keeping Victoria Falls in many of these. I wonder why we're still keeping Nigeria as the name of our country. But you know that Black Americans in America, what they discovered, they will never tell you that. Who discovered the traffic light system? You think is European. Who discovered the lawnmower, the gas mask, the gas burner? Who discovered the elevator? The spaceship retriever arm. Who did it? The fountain pen. Disposable syringe, that's something that's closer to you. Who discovered the blood, the blood transfusion, the blood plasma? Who? These are things that we never teach in our schools. We always assume everything is European. See the list of Black inventors and the kind of things they did. Now, even now, I lived in Zimbabwe for 10 years and I visited these Zimbabwe ruins, what they call it Zimbabwe ruins. These are things that were done before anybody came. And they were able to build a situation where animals were separated from human beings. Animals never met with each other. So all this transmission of zoonotic disease was not there. They practiced all that in those days. You remember one of my colleagues, Professor Muyembe. He was the one who started in 1980 something, 94, to talk about Ebola. But when the story came about, it was said that it was discovered by two of us. I challenged them at one of our meetings. Where is Muyembe? Why is he not one of the discoverers? It took another 20 years before Time magazine recognized it. But meanwhile, the other people have been winning Nobel Prize for discovering Ebola. Nobody remembers Muyembe. Then look at that. The oldest university in Africa is the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in first. It was founded in 18-something AD. Then in the same document, it said the oldest university is the University of somewhere in Bologna, founded in 1080. And then it added, it is also considered the oldest university in the world. Yet at the top of it, it said the universities in Africa the date is different from that one. So how come? This is what they write. And for me and you, what we pick of that is that the oldest university in the world is from Bologna, not from development. Harvard University was called New College, was founded in 1936. See all the other universities. And then part of our own this thing, some of us will sit down here and say Ibadan is the Harvard of Africa. What nonsense. Why can't Harvard become the Ibadan of the world? These are areas where they messed up with our thinking, and we continue to do that. Then this one, I don't know whether I can play it, but it's showing you about...
Doesn't talk about homosexuality at all, whether directly.
I will just let you, they say I've translated what he said. I will stop you so that we save time. He says yam is sweet with palm oil. Plantain is sweet with efodiro or vegetable soup. So is man having sex with woman. Man having sex with man or having, so is man having sex with woman better than man having sex with man or woman having sex with woman. Sex between man and woman, whether done standing, bending, or lying down with legs apart, is sweet. On the other hand, man having sex with man is like wading through the thicket. It is like punching the wall with your bare hole. It's a boil and inflammation. And when it is with a woman, it is like wading through a messy, mushy land. It is like Adani, I'm doing some of you know more that it is death upon death. So today they will tell you homosexuality, we don't know anything about that one. Many of us never even study all these things. Let me just continue. There's no need. So how do we decolonize our research? How do we do that? We need to undo the past. And the present racism, we need to identify some of these lies and things that we accept which are not true. We need to confront and challenge these practices, that have influenced our science education in the past and which are still affecting us even up to today. We must only do that. We must challenge and confront them with fact, not with fable. That means our research centers must go on and get to. And how do you do that? Know your people. Find out some of those information. I gave my inaugural lecture in 1986, and part of the thing I did was to look for people, how are we dealing with the virus diseases? And I met a traditional healer many years ago, was telling me about what they used to do with smallpox and other things. And he said, all these things you are talking, we've been doing it before. He said, for example, if I want to protect my people, he said, I take the scarves, the rag and the scarf and everything, I dry it in the sun. When it's dry, I crush it and sniff it in my, and breathe through my nostrils. I'm sniffing the powder. That's their vaccination. He said when anybody is sick, we take them to away out of the village. That's the isolation ward. And then we take those people who have sniffed this and recovered to go and take care of them. These are people who have been vaccinated and protected. But we never had that in any of our textbooks. All we are hearing is heterogena and all those kind of things. Did you know those things were happening in Africa? So we need to challenge this with facts and figures, and then which are derived from our own indigenous studies, funded by our government. You see, when you expect them to come, they won't fund that one. Because you're trying to open their, sorry to use the word. So it's us, our government. We must get to our government to know that there is so much between us. Decolonizing goes beyond science. We must include the economics, the culture, the social side, and the society must be involved. We must put in place systems that will enable the funding of indigenous-led conceptualized research and policy-making process. Continuation continues today in different forms, and science remains a tool for their power. The exact control, the legitimized exploitation, and erase and undermine this. You remember COVID came. They made money out of COVID. They eventually came up with vaccines. The pandemic treaty has been applied. They're still arguing about who has the pathogen and who gets the benefit. They are still arguing about that. They have not accepted. So decolonization research is a continuing thing. It is a renewal, it's a revealing, and it's a rediscovery. Therefore, our nations must create and sustain an enabling environment for researchers to flourish and able to meet societal needs. Ngugu wa Thiong'o said, decolonize your mind. That's the first point. Decolonize your mind. And sometimes we're not going to get this thing off them. The violent take it by force. I mean, I'm quoting the Bible. From the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has suffered violence, and the violent take it by force, not physical force. You know, the kingdom, our research, have suffered the violence of colonization. We must decolonize vehemently, with commitment, with our resources, by force of this thing. I'm going to conclusion. I know this thing. Now, you remember, what's his name? Trump came up and dismantled the, dismantled the PEPFAR and all those kind of things. What it meant, for the first time, I jumped up that I'm in the country. My House of Assembly, they got $200 million to fill the gap from USAID cuts. That's the kind of thing we are looking for. We're depending on it. It's not that we couldn't have it. And I remember asking the ministry official, I said, where was this money before? And if Trump had not done what he done, what will you have spent the money for? These are questions we need to begin to ask. The money is there. They're just squandering it. A state governor will move from his house to the office is 1 kilometer. He has 20 cars following him. The PhD that is across the road doesn't have a bicycle. And these are the issues we need to be talking about, pointing out. Is Africa poor? Are we resource limited? Are we resource constrained? No, we are not. Look at that map of Africa with natural resources. There's hardly any country in Africa that doesn't have something. You know, and we have engineers, we have mining engineers, all those kind of things who can do something. You know, every country, in fact, the whole coast of Africa, all the way from top, each of them has oil. And this again showing you what South Africa is first in certain things in terms of, these are areas where we are first and second. In other areas of development, we are last. But these are resources that shows that what we have. See that map. Name one country that doesn't have something here. But instead, what we do, we allow them to loot us. That map on the right is even, we loot ourselves. This is the national oil pipeline being siphoned from different corners by different people. That's the kind of things we are getting. So what are we going to do with the untapped, unused, underutilized, with the one we have no value added, the money, the resources we are looting, the resources we are stealing, the money we are wasting, the ones we are squandering? What are we going to do? Africa has become the menu on the table of the world. All our resources have become the dining table for all the other countries of the world. All these resources, you know, Zambian copper, Guinea bauxite, all those things have become their menu. And we are sitting down there. And you saw what Burkina Faso, yeah, recently, no, Niger, what they did about their uranium. These are issues. But Africa's headquarters was totally built by the Chinese. The African CDC that we're all proud of is again built by the Chinese. But let me show one thing. India was like us. They were begging for this. This was, if you look at that map, that was in 1947. They were begging for penicillin to treat tuberculosis from the Canadian minister and minister to minister. In 2004, I mean, when COVID came, it was the reverse. Canada was going to India to go and get COVID vaccine. What did they do between that time? They were colonized like us. So what are we doing? AIDS is a bondage. It's like getting cancer, treating cancer with band-aid. That's what AIDS is all about. And you know, we the recipients of AIDS, we wait and think we are relaxing. Only we end up being sugared and being pepper soup. That's what happens to us when we sit down there. You see those goats. And look at that one, the donor and recipient. That's exactly what's happening. See the donor waiting for the antelope. You think when they meet, he's just going to say, well done, welcome to my village. No. So what do we do? What do we do? The A in global does not should stand of Africa, but it doesn't. Recent COVID and outbreak illustrate one thing. We have data in Africa, but our data is incomplete, inaccurate, and we did not analyze our data. And that's why we're waiting for Europe to determine for us what to do about our COVID. If we had done our own analysis, we would have been able to provide the intervention that are required. We didn't have the diagnostic, we didn't have this, because we couldn't buy it. There was death everywhere. There was different epidemiology from what was happening in Europe, but we waited for Europe to tell us what to do. That's part of the decolonization. Look at the issue about equity and equality. Look at those, I just want to look at those diagrams, what they use in determining. Look at equality. It's supposed to be everybody has is two, but unfortunately there's a round, there's a shorter one, and there was one. Then equity means that the which I assume is a European, gave the stool to the black man. Let me see the next page to show you. So this is what they tell us about equity, and they deceive us, and we will deceive it. But what they don't tell us is that the runt in the smaller one is the African, the one in the middle is the Asian, and the last one is the white. The second picture says that the white man gives his stool to the runt, so there is equity. And I ask the question, where did each of us get the stool in the first place? Which person will give you his own stool in this age and time that we are done? Now, let me reverse the COVID situation. I'm sorry, I'm going to close soon. Let us reverse, because I want us to begin to think differently. So suppose it was Africa, it was not the West that had the great morbidity and mortality for COVID. Suppose it was Africa, not the West, that developed and manufactured and produced the vaccine. Suppose it was Africa, not the West, that purchased those vaccines for the use of their citizens. Suppose it was Africa, not the West, that had the proactive and committed government that care about public opinion. If Europe had asked Africa for vaccine, would we have given them? No, we wouldn't. So why were we complaining that they didn't give us? So we have the wrong notion about equity. You don't beg for equity. You fight for it with your resources, the untapped resources I'm mentioning about. When you get to the equity table and the negotiating table, if you bring your raw material, they give you a raw deal. If you bring nothing, you get no deals. So we need self-reliance. We need to start begging for aid. Aid aids the aider more than the recipient. That's what the Bible said. It didn't say it like that, but that's it says the giver benefits more than the receiver. So indirectly saying aid aids the aider more than the recipient. We need to reverse illegal transfer of resources. We must tap our resources. We are very educated people. We must create the enabling environment for build capacity to stay at home and work. We must stem and reverse brain drain. Collaborate at home with each other to develop our nation. No one itself will do that. And then we must pray and work for good leadership. Let us help each other. That's the only way we can all survive. Because that guy, if he chooses that man, he doesn't know that he too will fall. So let us stop negotiating from this weak point. We must fight equity with what we have. If you bring non equitable, you get next to nothing. And you bring your raw materials. So the African scientists, you and I, there was a comment I answered that the scientists in Africa must realize and appreciate that his expertise has conferred on him that additional position, not just a scientist, is a guide, is a teacher, is a mentor, is a beacon, is a light of the society. He's not just a crusader for his own rights, but also for the larger society, especially the underserved, the marginalized, the downtrodden, the disregarded, the overlooked citizens of our nation. That's where our society comes in. That's why we must know what their problem is. That's why we must use our science to change all that. So we must know yourself and do your part. Because we focus on the snake, we're stung by the scorpion. That's one of I like African proverbs. When you think deeply, you understand what they're saying. It says, when the shadow of a tree is bent, you straighten the tree, not the shadow. We pursue shadow in many African countries, when in actual fact we should pursue the main thing. So when they say think out of the box, and I ask yourself, who put you in the box in the first place? How did I get you that box? And why am I still in the box? Why should I be taken out of the box? Why don't I just throw away, get out of the box and throw the box away? The box is a bondage of aid. When you say you are resource limited or constrained, and it is a lie from Peter colonialism. I am resource wasteful, I am resource squandering. Therefore, I mentioned the governor's entourage of 20 cars and no bicycle in the PHC. These are issues that we're talking about. Let me leave you with one of our African traditionalists. He says a child can play with his mother's breast, but not with the father's testicles. Colonialism has for longer played with our testicles, and we have to do something about that. And therefore, that's why I say the violent must take it, and we need to take it by force. My time is up. I thank you very much for this opportunity, and I look forward to more discussion. Over.
Wow. Wow. Thank you very much, Professor Tomori. This is a highly illuminating, exciting, and informative lecture. And I would say that all of these are written on the chat box. We are very grateful. So I will hand over to Professor Akinyemi. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We are very grateful.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Right. Thank you so much, sir, for very stimulating, very incisive and provoking talk, very, very provoking lecture that you are giving us this afternoon. You challenged us to rethink and to redefine the purpose of our research as institutes, the need to do research that makes impact on the community. You have challenged us to ensure that we catch the young people, we catch them young, we build capacity and retain capacity in Nigeria and of course in Africa. And you have also highlighted very profoundly the challenges of colonialism, colonization, and of course the need for us to decolonize research, starting with decolonizing our minds, and of course to take it by force so that we can actually move science forward in Nigeria and of course across Africa. Thank you very much, sir, for very, very provoking thoughts, very provoking lecture. And I'm sure that everybody will have a piece of nugget of wisdom to take away from today's lecture. Thank you so much, sir. So the floor, and thank you very much, sir, for doing this talk in a very timely fashion so that we'll have sufficient room to take some comments and questions from our very august audience. And of course, our audience is a very prolific audience. We have leaders, past directors of institutes, the immediate past president of the Nigerian Academy of Science, Professor Briggs is also in the house, and many other esteemed leaders from across the nations that are part of this webinar this afternoon. I'm very excited to have all of them. Thank you so much, sirs and Mas, for joining us. So please, if you have a question or comment to make, I see Professor Tumani Kora, who leads the RF, very important African initiative to build research capacity for the continent. It's also in the house this afternoon. And I'd actually like you to make some comments. Professor Kora, I appreciate your impact and how you're raising African champions to influence our research and to improve research on the African continent. Thank you so much. So the other thing, so if you do have a comment, I'd like you to raise up your hand so that we recognize you to make comments, or you may want to drop your comment in the chat box. Right, Professor John Aneto, you have the floor, sir. And then Professor Grace Olokwe. Yes, let's have Professor John Aneto's very brief comment, and then followed by Dr. Grace. Yes, Professor Aneto, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Prof, congratulations. I think this is a big mouthful. Before I ask my question, I want to make a request. I know you are a very busy man. I wish you could actually expand this lecture into a textbook. I think many people will benefit from it. That's, I hope you are all hearing me. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Absolutely. We can hear you.
I would honestly suggest that some of these thoughts, if you can expand them into a textbook, it will be wonderful and beneficial to generations of scientists. That's, by the way, then for the question, earlier on the ASU Akada platform this morning, there was a question about this issue of retention of capacity. And I was very glad when you mentioned it again. Given the present economic climate, how honestly can we retain capacity? As a young boy growing up, I had many seniors who went to study in universities outside Nigeria, in Spain, in Germany, in the US, and immediately they finished, they returned to Nigeria. Of course, that can no longer be the same today. So what realistically can we do when we talk of retaining capacity. Thank you very much, sir.
Do I answer or wait for the others?
Right, Dr. Grace, please, may we have you ask your questions? Your hand was up. Can the IT please unmute? Please. Grace Olokwe, your hand was up.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm Grace Olukoyi from Lee City University, and I want to appreciate the prof for the presentation. It was as if he was actually using Pankere when he was talking. The message was quite informative and instructive. My question is on the areas of having research innovations and decolonizing vis-a-vis our accreditation matrix. We know that most of our accreditation matrices are following this colonial mentality. And to go the other way, which is the gospel he has brought to us this afternoon, how do we balance the two? Ditto for publication for young academics, that it will not know this is not the standard. This is not more or less killing this innovation that is coming. How do we balance the two so that even when we want to take it by force, we still don't jeopardize our own becoming? Thank you very much.
Should I answer them?
Yes, sir. You may please. Yes, you may answer. Take those two questions, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I have to start video. You don't have to see me, Joe. Let me. Okay, they said I must put on my video. So thank you very much, John. Your first issue about book.
Yes, sir.
It's not the 1 month was happening. Thank you for the suggestion, but then you also have to join and others who feel the same way. We need to work together. One individual alone cannot write that kind of book. We need everybody involved. All those who be, a time has come for us to do a proper decolonization. We can meet together. The two of us can start and we can move on to that one. That's the first thing. The other one was the issue of ASU and retention and what can we do?
Capacity, yes.
You know, we talk about decolonization. It's not for researchers alone. Decolonization is for the entire system, not the whole of Nigeria. It's not only academics that were decolonized. I mean, they were colonized. Everybody was colonized. So decolonization is not just on academics alone, it's on everybody. 2 days ago, or a few days ago, I saw on a program where one of our senators said he receives 14 million a month. I don't know whether you all saw that one. And he said the money was not enough for the work he has to do. 14 million a month times 109 of them, maybe, times 360, whatever it is, they are in the house of God. Imagine that for individuals. That's part of the decolonization we're talking about. When you say you're resource wasteful and resource squandering, there is enough money in this country to build the enabling environment for people to stay and do the work for the country. And I think that's one thing we need. And then when we talk about force, that's where the courage comes in. You and I cannot sit down at seminars like this when it comes to talk to our government, and then they make some stupid comments, and you and I start clapping. It means we are supporting what they are doing. We are endorsing their stupidity, we are endorsing their condemnation by clapping. I've listened to so many of these things when we go to meetings, and each of us are clapping when the governor says they're doing, and we know they are lying to us. So that courage, that's kind of the force I'm talking about. It has to be challenged. So we must be, and you need data to bring out all these things. I mean, part of the work. How much is the house? And I know if you have said it before, but these are some of the things you and I need to do and find is there enough money in this country? Again, I refer to the situation where the government came out with $200 million to offset what's his name? Trump offset shortfall.
Okay.
And I asked that question, where was that money before? And if Trump had not done it, what would we have used that money for? You and I, those of us in science, we need to get out of our test tube. We need to get involved in what is going on around us. We need to keep making comments and bring out the data, show all this type of thing. The more of us that talk, the better for everybody. You can't have one person talking all the time. I don't mind him, he's a crank. I don't mind that old man. We need more of people to join and make this same thing, repeat it before our people. That's the first one. I believe we have enough resources in this country to create an environment for each of these people who are training to stay in this country. Again, I raised the question. An obvious example. My governor leaves his house to his office is 1 kilometer. 20 cars are following him. The PhD that is next door doesn't have a bicycle. These are things we should be talking about. These are things we should be looking at that. Grace, I thank you. Innovation and all that, and what is accreditation and decolonization. I use the word, we must decolonize everybody. From NUC to all those things, everybody must be part of this colonization. When I got to Redeemers University in when I came back to Redeemers University in 2004, the first thing I did was to look at the curriculum and all that, and got a group of 50 other academicians from Lagos and other places. Can you design something for us that answers the problem of Nigeria? Of course, they came up with different things. I took it to NUC. Of course, you know your system. They just looked at me and said, "This crazy man, what is he doing?" But because I didn't have another person to support, there was only so much. I came here for a purpose, to set up Redeemers University. And if I followed the path of this, or whether I would have gone back to where I came from, or the people would have removed me. Not that I was afraid of being removed, but I still thought that it was good to start that university. And maybe with time, maybe we're too fast in some of the things that we. So gradually, back to the issue, the publication. How many journals in Nigeria do we have that we are proud of? Who is responsible for that? It's not you, the young ones. It's me, the older professors, who will not do their job, who will not referee the papers properly. It's me, the senior professor, who will not look at them and look down on that paper. It's me. When I started working in Ibadan, the journal, Indian Journal of Virus Research, was made in the Dangote cement paper. You could hardly ever read it. Today, go and look at it. Everybody talks about that when you're talking about diseases in India. So that is the only journal. So it takes time. I showed you the picture of India that 1847 was begging. And today, the other people are begging them. Consistency. I'm part of that generation that failed. I remember they also told me, if I didn't publish in American Society, I wasn't going to be promoted. So I published. But then when I got there, what did I do? There were not too many of us who said, look, let's get our journals working. And then we accept, we are not committed. How many journal editors? I was on a panel at the university where some of them, I won't mention their name, but I went in there, this guy had 20-something papers or something, of which he was supposed to be a professor or whatever it is. 10 of the papers were in the journals in which he was chief editor. The next 12 were in the journal, and that journal, we was also chief editor. And I asked him, I said, don't you see, how can you publish the journal in the same journal of which you are the chief editor? And he said, what is wrong with it? And everybody on the panel has told me what is wrong with it. So we need that integrity, that commitment, for each of us. And that's why the violence comes in. It wasn't that it was easy for me to become what I became. I joined the university, UCH, in 1971. My first promotion didn't come out in 1975. In the days when everyone was being promoted every 2 years. But I knew what I suffered by standing up for this. But I made it up. And luckily for me, by the time I finished, the man who refused to promote me, I became a head of department over him, waiting for him to retire and saying this, you can't, we don't need you anymore. So when you fight, you pay something. But it's better to pay for that. Once you pay that one, you don't pay for the rest of life. If you refuse to pay at the dozen, you will suffer for the rest of your life. So young people, I'm not saying oppose your leaders, but stand on what is good and stand by it. You will suffer for 1 year, 2 years. But go on. You'll be the one that they will come back to in the right time. So my colleagues and my friends, it's in our hands. It's in the hand of everybody. This message must go out not just to us as scientists. It must go out to everybody, people in the government. You must be courageous to say it. Time for us to decolonize the whole system. We won't be where we are today because we are not my colleagues in Sierra Leone, the other day, I was asking them, America came in and put 100 million isolation ward for Ebola. The country doesn't have, I don't know what room you're sitting down there for. They don't have enough doctors to man a small 20-bed hospital. And then you build 150-bed place for them to man. They couldn't. Because when the Americans left, what did they do with the place? It became a storehouse where the customs was storing contraband and seized goods. That's what they do to us. 100 million went to the American government because they said they gave it to them, but all of it came to them. But today, what is happening? So we need to sit down and think beyond where we are. We need to, sorry I'm taking time, but I get so emotional about this type of thing. But it's for you young people. It's your turn. I mean, for me, I don't have too much to struggle. I keep talking and keep talking. But it's your life. You have more to live than I have to live. So if you want to continue to suffer for the rest of your life, don't wake up there and sit down there and say you're afraid. Afraid of what? You will die before your time because of the fear. So colleagues, let's get out there. Let's fight whatever it is on. I remember I said, challenge with facts, challenge with truth. So go out there and do your proper research and come out with information and let's challenge. You will have people who will support you and back you. There are not too many of my colleagues who will do that, but we will. I'm one of them, and we'll back you. Sorry, this is not supposed to be.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. It's been said that everything rises and falls on leadership. So leadership is very essential to changing the agenda and moving things forward. Leadership at multiple levels. Before we go, sir, I would like to just ask a question. Then I would also request Professor Ekanen Bray. We are very honored to have her. She's immediate past president of the Nigerian Academy of Science. She's in the house. We would just like a very highly respected leader to make some comments before we wrap up today's session. But before Professor Ekanen speaks up, about 2 years ago, the IAMRAT team, and I'm sure you are aware of this, put together a proposal on the platform of the IPREP project to undertake research in the Niger Delta to look at health issues and then use that to provide solutions that would address. This was a multidisciplinary team that was put together by our director from across the university and also collaborating with colleagues from the Niger Delta. It's been more than 2 years down the line. We're yet to hear anything about that proposal, which was meant to be a game changer. So this highlights one of the challenges of research institutes, lack of funding. Most of the research within institutes are, usually, they're from funding from abroad. So how can we really change the game? Can TED Fund focus on maybe issues on specific research funding and announcement that will be dedicated to research institutes, to enable them focus on the areas of strength, or can institute develop specific investigator-led proposals that TED Fund can fund based on identified priority areas of need in the areas of influence? So that's the question that I would like you to address. And then Professor Ademo also has a comment. So if we speak, then you can address the two comments before Professor Ekanen Bray makes a comment, and then before we are adjourned for today. So Professor Ademo, you please speak. Will you please unmute, Professor Adimowo? And the IT, please unmute Professor Adimowo George, please. IT department, please, can you unmute Professor George Adimowo so that he can speak? Okay, maybe you want to address that question, sir, about the IPEP project.
Now I have been unmuted.
Oh, okay, yes, Professor Adimowo, okay, yes.
Thank you very much. I mean, it will be a disservice if I don't speak at all that our prof has spoken, you know. I always say Professor Tomori was director when I was employed. So he actually employed me in 1989 to IAMRAT. So Prof, thank you very much, sir. So I've been listening to Prof his passionate lecture, which is always inspiring. I also look at it that we have our own problems internally as researchers. We are not collaborating well enough among us. We divide ourselves along so many lines, especially along professional lines. Professional bodies, we say, no, this one cannot work here, this one cannot do that, this one cannot teach our students. This does not happen anywhere in this world except in Nigeria. And it's affecting the quality of our research, the quality of our students. Everything is affected negatively. What can we do to help this situation? Also, it's on both sides. You look at how many clinicians are virologists. We look at as if virology is only meant for those who are on the 100% on the bench only. But we don't see like that in other countries. I mean, I'm sorry for using an example of virology. Also, you look at the other side too. You see clinicians say, no, we don't want basic scientists to teach in this department. And when you're not teaching there, how do you do research there? So these are problems. We're not even collaborating, and it's affecting us badly. Our facilities are not good enough. So many things, everything we do is just in silos. And this is the truth. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
I'll start with the...
Yes, sir.
I'll start with what I call the Ogoni studies. I was part of it. I got involved on both sides with the government and all that. And we pushed it up to the last point when it got to the Board of Governors. The Board of Governors of the, whatever, that area, I don't know what you call the area. Anyway, Board of Governors are politicians. They were appointed by their governors of those different areas to represent their state. So when the final thing got there, the reason why we have not actually talked was further. We're looking for a change of government and hopefully change of governorship, a change of board membership, which I haven't done up to now. The board members were looking, and I'm going to be open. There was nothing for them in what research program you wrote. But that there was nothing they could put in their pocket. Pure and simple, that's all. And that was what led to the whole thing based, no, we can't waste money. I can build more hospitals, I can build this, I can build that one, because it's a contract they can give out and they make the money. I challenged them, at that meeting. I said, you are looking for your pocket, not for this thing. This is for the good of the entire society, but you are focusing on yourself. That's self-interest. I mentioned something about colonialism is not just from outside. There's also colonialism within, where a group overrides another. And that's kind of thing that's happening. So that's what happened with that one. But it's not for us to give up. I'm not even sure that if you knew how the other states were brought in, you'll be surprised. It requires you and I talking to the right people, getting involved with them and making suggestions to them. So we shouldn't shy away from that. Yes, we seem as if we didn't make it this time, but more are coming. And we learn our lesson. And I see I haven't giving up because they haven't formed their board, the new board. And I'm hoping that we can reach out to those newborn and tell them this is what is happening. They're out there, those ones who came there came to look for money, and they saw the way the program was written, there was no penny that would come into their pocket, and that's why they killed it. So don't get discouraged. That's the country you are in. That's the violence and the fight you have to continue to fight. Whether we like it or not, it's a continuous fight. If I tell you how many of the things that have failed with this government and some that have been successful, if I'd given up in those early days, I won't be where I am today. So we can't give up. We must continue to push. We must continue to tell them that this is the right thing to do. One day we'll get the right people who will do that for us. So that's about the Ogoni. And like I said, we have not given up on that one. Something is going on. On the issue of TED Fund, you know, Prof. Adimawo had just made something. We ourselves are responsible for a lot of things. Let me give you one good example of what happened. TED Fund gives out money during COVID and whatever, billions to 4 or 5 generations. And then they came up on the TV one day and they said they have found the COVID vaccine, the Nigerian COVID vaccine. And if I remember telling the guy, give it to your daughter first. Because we are not following, you don't discover vaccine on DSTV. You write papers, you publish, and people look at it, the peer review is fair to them. So many of us are there to make money also. We are worse than the politicians. I've been on TED Fund grants, whatever, to go and look at what is happening. You know, I've seen those institutions, the lies they told to get the TED Fund something. We exposed it to getting there. I said, oh, no. So we ourselves are not truthful. And so they see people to collude with amongst us, and they do what they are doing. Recently, you read in the papers where they said those who were asking vice chancellors how much they're going to give before they give them their budget. And the question I asked was, what are all the vice chancellors saying? If they all came up with one voice and said, no, we're not taking anything, these people won't try it. It is because they found amongst those vice chancellors, those who will take the money. And therefore, the assumption of us are the same. And unfortunately, more of the bad people are on the other side. And that's kind of thing. So, as George said, we also have a role to play. If we stand by what is right, these idiots, sorry to use the word, will not be dealing with us, they are dealing with us. It is left for you in your position to be a person of integrity, to be a person of truth. And when we have all that around, they cannot penetrate into the middle. But all they require is one person amongst us to be like them. And that's the end of all our story about integrity. So that's one of the things for what George said is true. But that Ogoni thing was one of the first ways in which we are all coming together, bringing your talent. John was there, George was there, different people came in. Yeah, we didn't make it this time. But we should remember what we built with that and build on it, not just give up because they didn't give it up. So I'm encouraging of you, write out, get more together. Let's write out more. It's going to come out one day, you get something. Don't get discouraged by these people. We keep challenging them. We must continue to challenge them. And that's where the force comes in. I can't answer all your questions today, but at least these are some of the ideas I think we need to do.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for very brilliant response to the comments and questions from the session of the audience. Of course, we wish we could be here forever, but step is never a friend. Always
yeah, anytime. We are together.
Yes, sir. So, sir, but I just like to mention to you, I know this will make you, this is sharing news. Here in the College of Medicine, University of Ibadan, we have hubs of students. For instance, we have here in Ibadan the College Research and Innovation Hub that was started by our recently retired Professor Adeshola Ogunleye. It's a very active hub of medical and biomedical students who are doing research, and they are being mentored by some of us who are on the faculty, and many of them are already winning grants. So I would say that the future is actually very bright. And we have several similar hubs across many Nigerian universities. So such crops of students need to be encouraged. They need to be empowered. They need to be given the living environments, to grow and also to be retained, as brains that would advance research in Nigeria and, of course, across the continent. So we're looking forward to government, for instance, that can create a special fund for such group of students who are research-minded, who want to do PhD programs and grow and become very productive researchers. So that's cherry news. And that's some of these things that you preached, they're already being done here, even in our institute. And we're very happy to do a lot more. But we need internal funding for the Nigerian government. And I'm speaking for all other institutes across the country too, so that they can look at some specific areas of focus and advanced knowledge there, but to also influence policy and practice, of course, influencing the public, not just publish in journals. So it appears Professor Ekanem Bray, I'm not sure if she's still on the map. Are you still on the Zoom platform, ma'am? Professor Ekanem Bray? Okay. I think she's left. We wanted her to make some comment, but we're very honored to have her be part of this evening's very stimulating and provoking lecture. Very erudite and esteemed past director of IAMRAT, Professor Tomori. Thank you so much, sir, for always inspiring us. So I just want to hand over back to the director for her to do our final thank you and then John for today. So Professor Kech, are you back to you? Hello, Professor Ajayi.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Yeah, good afternoon once again to everyone. It's been a very wonderful time and a time well spent, even if we've gone beyond our usual hours. But we would all agree that we have not really lost any time, but rather gained a lot from this lecture. And we have a lot to take home, as Professor Akitemi has mentioned. I like the big words that Prof used. We are going home with the infra big data. We are going home with African intelligence. We are going home with the acronym for colonization, if I'm right. Oh no, colonialism. So there is a lot to go home with. We're really very grateful, sir. But before we go, I will just again add to the acknowledgements. I thank everyone that have come for this lecture. We had so many of us online. And in addition, we have our past or former directors. Professor Tomori is one of them. We have Professor Oguni, Professor Falusi, Professor Falade, and I guess those I could see. And then we have also Professor Otolori. He's always been with us and attending our lectures. We are very grateful, sir. And your wife, Dr. Otolori. And we must really acknowledge you. He was the former president of ICOMA, that's the College of Medicine Alumni Association, but you've always been with us. We are very grateful, sir. And also we have our legends. The people we call legends are those who are 70 years and above. We have many of them here, and I'm sure they also have things they can share with us. You are open to send us your opinion, your suggestion as to how IAMRAT can do better. And I'm happy that Professor Guni has started something, so I hope being a board member of IAMRAT and also a former director, who is in the best position to help us to set up a unit here at IAMRAT, which is our ultimate goal. And also we have people from outside the country. It's unfortunate. I don't know the person from RF. I thought he was going to give us a goodwill message. And also, we also have someone, Dr. Folabi from Rwanda. He's also been with us all the time, and he had also delivered a lecture on this. The other thing is to please request that you join us on Saturday, 7th June at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for the IAMRAT Day. On that day, we're going to have a panel of discussants who will again talk more about the Institute, young career researchers, and building capacity. But we shall have different experts from different disciplines, including someone who has also benefited from mentoring, so that we can encourage our young researchers and guide them. So please, the flyer will soon be out. We will be very happy if all of us can share it with our young researchers in our institutes or those that we know anywhere in the world to join us that day, so that they can also contribute and also learn a lot. At the IAMRAT Day, started last year, 7th June, which is the birthday of the late Pa Fashion, who donated the building where IAMRAT is now, and they are still supporting us. There's an essay competition ongoing, and we're going to pick the winners, and the overall winner will make a presentation on IAMRAT Day. So there's a lot of interesting things that you can really enjoy on that day. So please be on the lookout for the flyer for the IAMRAT Day. We are very grateful to everyone. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Ike, and thank you, Rufus, and others for this invitation. I'm excited.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right,
so
bye-bye.
Everyone, thank you. And please remember to register on the link. I have shared it. Some people are saying they have difficulty, but have registered, and I know others have registered. Could you try again, whether it's your system or something? Also, if you have not, I will still post it and we won't go off for some time so you can register. This will help us to send your CME scores and also to call you in, to invite you to other meetings easily. So please try and do that. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right then.